From Australia, this is BondiTunes.
Thank you so much, Calabash Flash, and I know that you're going to be filling in for me when I'm away. I'm taking a holiday to Tasmania, I think. This is BondiTunes Music and Chat, and I think that I'm going to talk to Tina Charles, the iconic singer from the 1970s, for this week. If that happens, it'll be just after I've done this voiceover. You're listening to BondiTunes Music and Chat and 70s Plus as we merge our shows from the BondiTunes Network in Australia, broadcasting into New Zealand on FM and across Europe, Canada and Spain on many radio stations, including our main carrier, Replay Radio in the UK. It's just after 6 a.m. here, and in Sydney, the sun is just rising, and we're in for yet another hot and humid day, unlike those in the UK, where I'm about to cross to iconic singer Tina Charles. Hello, Tina.
Hello, how are you?
I didn't sleep last night because I knew I was going to interview you.
Well, you have to get up pretty early, don't you?
Yes, well, time zones and all that sort of stuff. Now, I know you're doing a lot of stuff at the moment. I've done a bit of research on you, Tina Charles. But if you don't mind, I'd like to just talk about your timeline, because you've had an incredible career.
Yes, that's true. Right from when I was 13 working with Elton John.
You sold 36 million records between 1976 and 1978. Now, a fella called Reginald Dwight he was backing vocals for you.
That's right. He was backing vocals on, I think it was my second single for CBS. And he was actually working at that time as a session singer.
Oh, do you keep in contact with him, or do you know him, or what's?
No, I did for a little while, but I think we went our separate ways a long time ago. I mean, he was nothing like he is now or was in the 70s and 80s. I mean, he was very shy and very retiring when I knew him when I was very young, and then suddenly this other person evolved.
Yes.
But I think we went out. He went on to Rocket Records and did his thing, and I went off doing other things and. As you do, I suppose. Yep,
for sure. And you're all very young. You have to remember that. And of course, Elton John is gay and didn't come out until the 90s, I think. And you said that he was quite, I get the impression that you felt that he was quite repressed at that age. And you would be, if you're gay and you can't tell anyone.
Well, that's right. And he also got married, didn't he?
Oh, yes, that's right. He did too, yes.
Yes, he got married. I think he got married to his engineer or something, which didn't last very long, because it's very sad that people can't be who they want to be.
Yes, but times have changed and things are better, aren't they? Now,
oh, goodness me, yes. I mean, people now don't give back an eyelid anymore.
Tina, you grew up in Whitechapel. You were born in Whitechapel in London, which is a lovely, lovely, lovely place. I lived in London for 3 years, and Whitechapel, I just loved Whitechapel because it had all these old, iconic buildings.
That's right, yes.
Do you still live there?
No, I live in Surrey now.
Oh, okay.
I've been for 35 years in the same house. But I was born, obviously I'm a Cockney, and was born in the East End. And then after the war, I think my parents, because they lived through the war, and then we moved from Whitechapel to Essex.
I'd like to ask you, I know that you were born as Tina Hoskins.
Yes.
But you changed, or someone changed your name to Tina Charles, and of course Charles is your father.
Yes, that's why it was either going to be Tina Charles or Tina Warren after my brother.
But why did that happen?
Because I think, if I can remember rightly, I mean, as you get older, your brain goes a bit, I think it was because there was a singer in England called Mary Hopkins.
Yes.
Who did Those Were the Days. And I think what we didn't want to do is people get confused with Tina Hoskins, Tina Charles. Tina Hopkins, Mary Hopkins.
Mary Hopkins. But isn't it interesting that, did you have any control over that, Tina?
Yes, I think I preferred Charles anyway, because I think Tina Hoskins just didn't have quite the ring to it, if you know what I mean.
Yes, for sure. And you obviously loved your father and took his name on.
A sort of tribute to him. We lost him about 14 years ago, so he was very, very much behind me with my career, and it's sort of like a lasting tribute because everybody calls me just Charles. They don't call me Tina. All my friends just call me Charles.
In 1978, you representing UK as an international winner of the World Popular Song Festival held in Tokyo in Japan. The reason I'm mentioning this is because a lot of people, especially our listeners in the UK and in North America and Canada, possibly don't realize that you were very, very big in Asia.
Yes, very, very much in Thailand. I did tours in Singapore, Bangkok, which I, with my band, Trevor Horn on bass.
Yes.
Jeffrey Downs on keyboards, Lewis Jardine on. I had a fantastic band, and we went all over, Thailand and Bangkok. It was a fantastic tour.
And tell me about the two Ronnies, because I know that your career basically started in 1969, and you you managed to get onto the first series of the two Ronnies on the British national broadcaster BBC One, with Ronnie Barker and Ronnie Corbett. Of course, Ronnie Barker sadly passed away. But what was that like?
Oh, it's fantastic. And how I got that was because I was working at the Empire in London, Leicester Square, with the resident band at the time. I was on the Mecca halls we used to have years ago. And the producer happened to just come down and watch me, and he was like, "Yep, we want her on the first series."
And of course, it's become an iconic series on the BBC. In fact, Ronnie Corbett is still going strong, isn't he?
Oh, he's still working now here. I think he's just been given an OBE, so he'll be having a name after him now.
Did you get to talk to these people?
Yes. I mean, they were very friendly, very nice, extremely down to earth, lovely people.
Tell us about Linda Lewis.
Oh, Linda, she's a great friend.
Mm-hmm.
She was also equally born in Whitechapel. And she, we've been friends for years. I mean, she used to live quite close by to me, and we used to have sort of dinner parties and things, but we obviously worked together as well in the 70s.
Yes, and 5,000 Volts.
Oh, that was me and Martin and I, sorry, should I say. That was just a session. I just got paid £200 for that.
Is that right? Oh, my goodness.
I didn't get paid anything, just a session fee.
Oh, well, it was quite big, wasn't it?
Oh, it was #1 in Germany for months. It was huge. Even in North America, it charted.
Okay, now...
So somebody made some money, but it wasn't me.
You see, I'm going to ask you about stuff that's going on now, okay? I will ask you about stuff that's going on now, Tina, because the music industry has changed. And I looked at your page, and I note that you have Amy Winehouse as one of on your Facebook page. And I'm very interested in this because, when you grew up in the 60s and 70s like I did, and you were very, very successful at a very young age. And I was interviewing my Melbourne correspondent here on BondiTunes Music and Chat, and Adam Devlin, and we were talking about Amy Winehouse because he does what he calls a pick of the week, which is a song that he picks every week. And we were talking about Amy Winehouse and a great song that he was going to play. And he said, I don't think she's going to last the year out. And 2 weeks later, she died. And I would like to ask you, because you've been through all this and you were very successful as a very young singer, what would you say to people in their 20s who make it really big?
It's very difficult because everywhere you go, you are offered things, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, yes.
We used to do tours with the band, and we were quite naive, and we'd get there and it'd be like, what do you want? And we'd like, well, just a couple of beers and maybe a bottle of brandy in the dressing room or whatever. And they'd say, well, you don't want anything else? And we'd say, no, that's fine. And I think it's quite easy, I suppose, because it's all out there to actually, if you want anything, there's always somebody to give it to you, if you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
And I suppose, bless her, I think she just fell into a big trap, really, and I don't think she could actually handle fame.
But you did.
I did, and I didn't somehow. I mean, I didn't get hooked on drugs or anything, but I think I did find fame very, very intrusive, because people knocking on your door and, you know, everywhere you go. I'd never been at home because I had a little boy at the time, and I was always away somewhere touring. And you do find fame. You think sometimes, oh, I'd just love to be anonymous and not have to hang around at airports and do this and do that and be told what to do. Because in my days, record companies, I think, were far more... I mean, with Amy, she was the one that dictated everything to them. Yeah. But in my day, they told you what to do. It was like, this is what we want you to wear, this is what you want to... You know, it was always the other way round. And I think she couldn't handle the whole fame.
Your song, I Love to Love, was a #1 hit in 1976. In fact, I've read some stuff on you, and you were not out of the charts for the whole of 1976. You were in the charts all the time in Britain.
Really? I haven't read
Did
that
you know
before.
this?
No, I didn't. That's quite nice to know. They're repeating lots of the Top of the Pops at the moment on British TV. On ITV4, I think it is, or BBC. No, it'd be BBC4.
Oh, yeah. And, like, how do you feel like, you know... I love talking to you naturally about this stuff, because I don't actually interview people. I just have a chat with them. And I love talking to someone who has been so iconic in my life. I mean, you know, back in the 1970s, I was saving up my money, my weekly money, to buy your records, Tina Charles. I would go out and buy, and for the Y generation who are listening to this, they're little records, so not big records. I couldn't afford the big records because they're called LPs. The little records are called EPs, and they've got an A side and a B side, and you got the big song on the A side, and you got another song on the B side. I saved up my money to buy your records in the 70s.
Oh, that's one. Well, I saved up my money to buy my first record, was actually Dave Clark, Glad All Over. And that was, I think, in the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, when I Love to Love was at its peak, I think it was shifting 37,000 copies a day.
Oh, my God.
Which now wouldn't be even heard of with CDs and downloads. You wouldn't even...
Well, it's because of the media. The media's all changed, you know.
Yes, and I think the internet has made people can copy things, copy to copy to copy.
Yeah.
So people don't actually save up their money anymore and go and buy their, which I used to do, like yourself, the record, and used to look at it and look at the middle of it and put it on the first
glorified it. I absolutely glorified your singles. You know, I'd go out and buy a Tina Charles single, and I'd just go home and show it to all my friends. And that was when you were
in Ireland, or
in Ireland? Yes.
Yes. Oh, I went to Ireland a few times as well. Loved Ireland.
I love
the Irish. I love the Irish way of life, actually, that they left me hanging at the airport for an hour. And when I said, where have you been? The record company were like, well, what's the problem? And I was, well, I've been here for an hour. But they didn't care. You know, it's like, well, you just go at our pace.
But you're Tina Charles. You should be allowed to get in there, you know, for free.
I know, but I think the Irish are the Irish, and I'm afraid I'm not as big as the Irish.
Yes, but the Irish are a funny bunch, aren't they?
I love them.
Do you find, like, now, and I'm going to talk about what you're doing now, Tina, and we were briefly brushing over the fact that, you know, young singers are dying and they're doing crazy shit and they're, you know, doing drugs and all that sort of stuff, and it's really bad. You are definitely still in the scene. You had a song called Higher in 2006 in the US.
That's correct.
Tell me about that.
Oh, that was Sammy, who did my remix of I Love to Love that got, I think it was 1986 in the French charts and Germany.
Yeah.
And that was #2 in France, I think, for 3 months. It was so big in France, it was huge. And Sammy and I met doing the remix, and then I went over to Greece and we did a couple of tracks, and Higher was one that we just actually, it was something we just put together in sort of half an hour.
Is that right?
And it did really well.
And then All Comes Back to You. Tell me about that.
All Comes Back to You. That was on one of the albums, was it not? In the 70s?
I don't know. I just know that you had some... it doesn't give me a year. I've done all this research, but I don't have enough research.
Obviously that one slipped past. I think All Comes Back to You was one of the B-sides of...
right. Okay.
One of the songs I did in the 70s. To be honest, I did so many tracks and things. I mean, all the covers I did.
Your Love Is My Light from 2011.
Yes, I've just recorded that. That's just come out on downloads, I think, and CDs. And that's something I did with a really good friend. And I used the people that did Kylie Minogue's recordings.
Ah, yes.
Pete Hammond, and they were the ones that mixed all Kylie's stuff and did all Kylie's stuff for Pete Waterman. And you can hear, actually, there is a slight... you can tell that they did Kylie's stuff in the 80s.
Oh. Yes, that's very recognizable, I guess. Look, what I want to do is actually... I know that you're busy, and I just want to ask you what you're doing now and where your future is going, what you're doing in the future.
Well, I've just recorded some tracks with my old buddy Martin J, who was 5,000 Volts.
Oh, yeah.
And he's away on holiday at the moment, but we're going to sort of put those out on a CD as well. We want to start touring again.
And on a personal level, how's life going for you?
Very well.
Yep.
Yes, life's good.
And
got my 3 dogs, got my Rottweiler German Shepherd and my other 2.
I was hoping one of your dogs was going to bark, actually, while I was doing this interview, but that didn't happen.
No, I put them outside. Once they start fighting and tearing around the house.
Oh, look, Tina, I grew up with you, and I am absolutely blown away to talk to you. It is such a wonderful thing to do, and thank you so much for talking to us on the BondiTunes Network.
That's a pleasure, Henry, and it's lovely to talk to you, and maybe we'll do it again sometime.
I would love to talk to you again. Can you just hang on the line for a sec?
Yes.
Okay. This is BondiTunes.com.